Good morning. Welcome to the Old Geezer Show. I'm Chris, and here we go. I've just suddenly discovered I've got something interesting going on here that I didn't know was going on. I wonder why that's going on. How strange. Let's get rid of that. Okay, here we are. I'm Chris. This is the Old Geezer Show on Facebook, on YouTube, all over the place, really. And I'm talking today about something that I think is really quite serious. I don't know how serious you're going to think it is or how important it is. When we announced doing this show yesterday, it's called Bury or Burn. And when we announced we were going to do this show yesterday, we had a couple of comments back. One of them said, that'll be interesting. I thought, yeah. And the other one said, is that a bit morbid? Well, no, I don't think it is. I think we all get to that stage in our life where we have to make that decision. Are we going to be buried? Are we going to burn? And I thought most of us don't really know enough about it. And so what I thought I'd do is take a look around at the situation with burying or burning and see what people actually say. Now, this is an interesting one. And I'm going to start off by showing you something. There you go. What it is. Those are the machines that are used to dispose of human bodies. The cremator is the actual furnace that burns you, and it burns the coffin as well. The cremulator is the mill that turns your bones and things into powder. It's an interesting one, isn't it? It still has to all be kind of dealt with by hand at some point by somebody, because they have to pluck your bones out of the ash. Because the cremator doesn't actually burn all your bones, they have to pull those out, and they also have to put out medical fitments like your pacemaker, well, hopefully, and like any ironmongery you've got in. I've got an ironmongery bit in my leg. I've got some nuts and bolts and things and iron plates, steel plates, and they have to pull those out and put them to one side and maybe recycle them. I don't know how much they get. So that's an interesting one, isn't it? Do you think? I think. And then they put the remaining bones in the cremulator, which is the actual milling machine that makes your bones and hard bits, teeth, into dust, powder. Okay, so that's it. That is the cremator and the cremulator. They are the two bits of kit that do the job. But what I want to do today, as well as talk about those, is actually talk about the process and effectively the cost. I'm going to actually quote you something. Now, these figures come back a long way. They come back from around 2005, 2010. And the amount of people who are cremated in the UK, pretty high. Around 70% of us were cremated in the UK. That's a scary one, isn't it? And when you think about that one, that's 7 in 10 people, and that's a lot of cremations. We are talking about a lot of cremations, aren't we? But 30% then going to graves, are buried, and that's not as many. Bear in mind that in the UK, 14 or 15,000 people die every week. So it's around a couple of thousand a day, yeah. So it's a lot of bodies to be disposed of. So the easy way, I guess you would say, is to dispose of them in a cremator. 71% of us are cremated. The cremator uses around 285 kilowatt hours of gas and 15 kilowatt hours of electricity per cremation. That's a dazzling figure, isn't it? 760 to 1150 degrees C for between 75 and 90 minutes per cremation. So in actual fact, cremators can't actually do more than maybe 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 in a day, in a working day. I guess the reality is that people who work in crematoriums can maybe do overtime to catch up if they've done more service than that. But bear in mind, they usually do a sort of half-hour service. There's usually maybe a quarter of an hour or half an hour between cremations. So it can be it's a busy day for them, but it's a busy day for the cremator machine. And in reality, they have a limited capacity. If you want to be cremated like the people who just offer cremations, no service, no bells and whistles, then that obviously can be done any time that the crematorium wants to do it. So I guess they can work out of hours on that. That's something we'll have to ask about, isn't it? So there you go. So that is how cremations, or how cremators work and how cremations work. Very straightforward, isn't it, really? But this is the bit where we come to the interesting stuff. I'm going to go back a moment and just talk about burials briefly. Burials, in many ways, aren't quite as bad as cremations. Cremations, because they're running a large machine, a large machine, they actually put out a lot of gases, effectively kind of exhaust gases, from burning your body and from burning gas and etc. And some of those gases aren't particularly nice. They can be a bit odorous, but they are the exhausts, I think, are cleaned out. And there you have it. So they pump it out in the air, and that's you gone in a flash. But the reality of doing the other thing is not quite as bad, but it's kind of approaching a little bit, because when you look at how burials work, they also take the same chemicals and bits and pieces, and they put them into the ground. So you get some chemicals, and if you go in a coffin, an ordinary wooden coffin, then bear in mind that wooden coffins are mostly made of veneered chipboard, and that's bonded throughout with formaldehyde resin. So that's a pretty poisonous chemical, and that in time can enter the water course. So the reality is a little bit scary with burial as well. It's not all good. If you choose to get buried or cremated in a more friendly container, if you like, then that's kind of much less noxious than doing it in a crematorium. So there you go. Okay. Let's just go on and now go back to the thing I was going to talk about today. And this is where it all gets, from my point of view, really interesting. There is something called natural organic reduction. It started to take off in the United States of America. And it's a chemical process, effectively, and a natural process, effectively, that actually deals with your body in a really rather nice, clean, and friendly way. You're actually placed on a bed of alfalfa, that's a plant, straw, and sawdust for 30 days. And at that time, your body is more or less reduced to a kind of soily substance in amongst all the other stuff. And they take out your bones and they grind those down. They have to do it. They have to get them into small enough chips for them to be later effectively dissolved by bacteria and microbes. And you're actually put into back in, once the bones have been ground up, you're put back into the rest of the remains, and you sit there for another 30 days being turned at fairly frequent intervals so that the whole thing is kind of stirred up. At the end of that total of 60 days, you are then just really turned to dark and rich soil, about 400 pounds of it, which your family can have back and put in their garden. If they don't want it, you can actually give it to your local friendly forest or some grower who might be very pleased to have it. It's interesting, isn't it? This is a different way of doing things. This is kind of more what it looks like from the point of view of the or the natural organic reduction funeral company. They actually put you in a biodegradable cloak, coat, call it what you like, and put you on that bed of plant material and put you in a box. They obviously keep the box aerated. They keep it kind of at the right temperature, but the temperature that the remains come to can be quite high. It can get to well over 100 degrees. And so effectively that encourages the microbes to work harder and clear up your body. Now, what do you think of that? I'm really fascinated to know what people think of that. I've done this at a not very kind of friendly time of day to not get any, I don't know, silly remarks from me or from anybody else, I hope. But it seems to me that that's a much better way of disposing of your body if you want to have effectively a really clean and non-polluting removal of your body when you die. I quite like it. I'm going to find out a bit more about it from my own point of view. I don't even know if it's legal in the UK. I have tried to look it up but can't find it. We'll do a little bit more of work on that and come back to you if we get enough interest on this show. The other thing that is worth telling you is that in the States, in the USA, this process is available in 6 states at the moment, possibly a seventh coming online. And it works out apparently extremely well. The families like it. The families don't feel that their loved one is being kind of torn away for cremation or stuck in the cold, wet ground for burial. What do you think? I do think this kind of feels more like a, I don't know whether you'd say friendly, a more acceptable way of getting rid of a human body. Okay, if you've got a thought on it, I'd love to hear from you. If you've got more than a thought on it, get in touch with me. I'd love to hear more. I don't have any kind of axe to grind apart from saying that this seems like an interesting and potentially reasonable way of dealing with the leftovers of your life. Why burn them and create a huge amount, effectively, of pollution, something like 250 kilograms of carbon? To be honest with you, Tim, I don't know. I think they probably just burn your remains when you're done with. I'm not entirely sure about that, and I will find out and see what happens to that. I know that when you die in hospital or when you have a major operation in hospital, anything, if you lose a leg, for instance, those are cremated. So I assume that once medical science has finished with you, they will cremate you. So I don't know about that, Timothy. I think I will try and find out and try and come back to you. Okay, let's see where we go with this. I'd love to have more comments. Thanks, Tim, for commenting. I appreciate it. We also had one from Algernon, who's a regular watching the channel, and thank you, mate. At least you're there. Let's see what we get on this when we put it out properly, when we edit it down a bit, and see where we go with it. From my point of view, I think it's really interesting. You may think it's horrendous. There you go. I'll leave it to you, but see what you think. Okay. I shall now hustle along to my normal bit and say the usual thing, really, which is I've really found this one interesting. I found it interesting to do the story. I'm sad we haven't had a lot of people watching live, but somehow I didn't expect it. But I'd like to see if a few people watch it afterwards and see what people come up with. You never know where people are going to go. You never know where I'm going to go with stuff like that. This, do you really? Because it is kind of quite difficult to answer the questions that it raises. Okay, this is just a kind of, I guess this is just an experiment in looking at what the alternatives are, because I do find crematoria, I mean, I'll put myself down to be burnt because I think it's quick and easy for the other people. But I like this method of human body disposal, if you like. Let's see where we go to with it. Come back to me. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, let me say this to you very quickly. My name's Chris. This is the Old Geezers Show, and I hope you've enjoyed it and found it interesting. I don't know about enjoyed it, but let me say to you, I will see you soon with more on the Old Geezers Diary, on Facebook and YouTube, and on Homemade TV. Take care of yourselves now.